Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Commander video. Again, if you enjoy these, please subscribe to the channel. I enjoy making them for you. Thanks for joining. We have what could quite possibly be the best dragon commander option since the Dragon. Last year's Adventures in the Forgotten Realms set offered us some pretty awesome dragon support. However, it just seemed like it was there to supplement the existing dragon strategies without really giving us a substantial alternative. We did get a new commander option for that year, but I don't think it caught on like Wizards was hoping for. But for this year's Battle for Baldur's Gate, we get Miirym, Sentinel Wyrm. This 6-mana Temur colored dragon spirit is the perfect alternative. While it's not in 5 colors, what you're gonna get from this commander option is a brand new approach to dragons. A 6/6 flyer and Ward 2, which means that your opponents, if they want to do something like Swords to Plowshares it, they will have to pay 3 mana instead of just the 1. And whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, you create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. So even if it didn't include that last part of the text, I think this would still be a good dragon. The main draw here is that you are able to take advantage of legendary dragons by getting around the legendary rule, which would normally have you sacrifice one of them. And just looking at the set as is, we have a ton of legendary dragons that serve as good setup creatures, and overall getting more than one of these at a time would still be incredibly powerful. These are all uncommons, so Battle for Baldur's Gate is going all out on the dragon support. As you can see, some of these can take advantage of the background mechanic and be awesome commander options in their own right, but Renari, Merchant of Marvels is basically Ley Line of Anticipation, but for dragons and artifacts. Ganax Astral Hunter gives you a treasure token whenever it or another dragon enters the battlefield, and Lozen Dragon's Legacy deals damage equal to the mana costs of the dragon spells or adventure spells you cast to any target that isn't a commander. So getting more than one of her means that you're going to be dealing a ton of damage. And Thrakus the Butcher doubles the power of each dragon you control until end of turn, so getting more than one of him means that you can double the double. And this set offers you a ton of power beyond that. As I just mentioned, those were uncommons and they were pretty good. Furcrag Cunning Instigator, whenever one or more dragons you control attack an opponent, you goad target creature that player controls. This is on Flying in Haste, by the way, and whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, if that creature had to attack this combat, you put a +1/+1 counter on Furcrag, and then you get to draw a card. So getting 2 of this means that you'll be able to goad twice since they both get the same trigger, and then when those creatures have to attack and deal combat damage, you could potentially get even more card draw while increasing the power of Furcrag. Earthquake Dragon is insane, a 15-mana creature, but it does have significant cost reduction where it's X less to cast, where X is the total mana value of dragons you control. 10/10 Flying Trample, you can sacrifice a land and pay 3 mana to return it from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a constant threat. If you can get 2 of these at a time, you're threatening a lot of power in the air with Trample. Ancient Copper Dragon offers you a way to get a ton of treasure tokens. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you roll a d20, then you create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. So if you attack with both of those, deal combat damage with both, you can do that twice and get even more treasure tokens, which has some combo potential if you want to include Hellkite Charger, which I imagine you would in a dragon deck. With Ancient Silver Dragon, when this deals combat damage to a player, you roll a d20 and then draw cards equal to the result. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game, so incredible to attack with both of those and deal combat damage with both if you're able to. But this set also goes a step further. While I don't think these are optimal, the Orbs of Dragonkind do offer a little bit of support if you use the mana to cast dragon creature spells. Lapis will let you scry 2, which is very boring, but it does tap for 1 blue. The Jade will give a dragon a +1/+1 counter and have it gain hexproof until your next turn. That's a little bit better, but I like Carnelian Orb because it will give the dragon creature haste until end of turn, which in a tribe that is typically higher in mana value, you're going to want to speed things up a bit. As far as supporting dragons that already exist, it's going to get pretty chaotic. We have Terror of the Peaks, we have Scourge of Valkis. Both of those can deal a ton of damage. If you get another copy of them, it's pretty much your game to lose at that point. Especially Scourge of Valkis, if your deck is all about getting additional dragons and getting 2 of them out there at a time, you're dealing X damage to a target where X is the number of dragons you control twice. And Hellkite Courser is great in any kind of dragon deck because dragons are typically more expensive. Our commander is 6 mana, so late game it might become incredibly inconvenient to have to recast it. So late game you play this for 6 mana, you get your commander out there and then you can kind of go off. But half of what is really going to be powerful and what separates Miirym from other dragon tribal options dragons is that you're capable of getting around the legendary rule. You need to abuse this because there's a ton of potential here. While it may not be the first thing you think of, Niv-Mizzet Perun, while inconvenient in the mana cost, offers you a ton of potential. If your opponents cast an instant or sorcery spell, you'll draw 2 cards and both Niv-Mizzets will trigger, so you can deal 1 damage to any target 4 times. Old Gnawbone making it so that whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you're getting those many treasure tokens. You can do that twice if you have 2 Old Gnawbones out there. And Cloth similarly will give you more mana, equal to the total power of attacking creatures. Cloth might be even better and probably the best creature to throw into this Miirym deck, since it has haste, and as I mentioned before, Hellkite Charger becomes an even more viable win con. We're not too far removed from the beginning of the year when we got Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, and as you probably noticed, we got some legendary dragons. Kiari, Atsushi, Kura. Having different modes means you have more options with these. Kiari has the benefit of Ward 3, which can be very underrated in Commander. Atsushi will let you play more spells off the top of your library, or you get 3 treasure tokens. Kura is the land dragon. When it dies, you get to search for 3 land cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, or you can get an XX green spirit creature token where X is the number of lands you control. The old Kamigawa dragons from the original one, with Kaiga, Ryusei, and Jugun, while they each only have 1 ability when they die, just looking at Kaiga for example, being able to gain control of a creature when it dies I think is insane. So getting another copy of Kaiga is sort of an insurance policy. Ryusei is all about dealing more damage and Jugun's all about +1/+1 counters. If we were looking back at last year's set, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, and the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms Commander product, we did get Vrondis Rage of Ancients, and I talked about how it didn't quite take off. I stand by that. It's an interesting strategy, but to me, it's not so much a dragon tribal focus strategy as it is a way to take advantage of damage and creature tokens, but I would still consider it for the fact that you can get another Vrondis. And as we were looking at some of the Elder Dragons already from this set, they do allow you to roll a d20. So it has an easy way to damage itself so you can get more dragon tokens. Dragonborn Champion from the same precon is incredibly underrated, and in this deck it shouldn't be too difficult to deal 5 or more damage to a player so that you'll be able to draw multiple cards. And getting another one means you have even more card draw. Orb Dragon Kind, this was the rare from last year's set, has a lot more power behind it, and I think it's going to be an auto-include. You want more support for the strategy, that's going to be a little bit more expensive on average for the tribe. So if you can get extra mana, if you can look at the top 7 cards of your library, get your dragons to your hand quicker, I think that's incredible. But the last thing I would talk about, if you're looking to build around Miirym as a commander, and you want to get filthy, you want to abuse it, because the trigger is non-token dragon entering, you can take advantage of things that blink your dragons. We have cards like Ghostly Flicker in blue, we have a ton of Ghostly Flicker-like cards in blue, where you can exile 2 of your dragons and have them come into play immediately, triggering Miirym again so that you get even more dragon copies. We have cards with a more lasting impact like Thassa Deep Dwelling and Conjurer's Closet, so you have ways of regularly blinking them each one of your turns. But if I were building this commander, and I'm probably going to, I would just dump a ton of Ghostly Flicker cards in there. The ability to get more token copies of even your legendary creatures and have them stay out there is incredibly powerful. So having a blink sub-theme I think would do your deck wonders, especially if we have things like Scourge of Valkis, Terror of the Peaks. Those could be your 2 creatures that you blink and have come back into play, getting more token copies of them. That's so brutal, and you're going to be dealing a ton of damage. So anyway, that's going to do it for the video about Miirym Sentinel Wyrm. While it's not going to do anything super brand new, the only thing really is getting token copies of legendary dragons and keeping them. The strategy is different enough to where you would want to experiment with Dragon Tribal outside of the typical, oh, we got a big 5-colored 10-mana dragon commander, you just gotta stuff everything in there, every dragon that's ever existed, just throw it in there non-stop. With this commander, you can be a bit more focused on the actual strategy and not so much if it's a dragon, it fits. And I think that's why the Dragon has succeeded for so long, is that overall the dragon tribe is just not that diverse. I think we have an interesting take on Dragon Tribal here, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. So again, if you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe to the channel. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.